Happy Thursday. Welcome to Conversations with Chike Evans, and I'm Chike Evans. Today I will be talking to Mr. Ethan Cain. Ethan Cain is an MMA fighter. He is a medical professional. He is also a soldier. I find him to be very fascinating because all the multi-hyphenate things that are going on. So can't wait to get into his story and find out what's going on. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the brother to arrive, how y'all doing? Is everybody all right? Holding it together? Keeping strong? Staying positive? Because that's key. Stay positive no matter what. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. How's everybody doing? And please remember to go by the official YouTube page, like, share, comment, all that stuff. Subscribe. Everything counts. Support is everything. And I appreciate you being here because you can be anywhere else. What's going on, y'all? Welcome in, welcome in. Just waiting for Mr. Cain. Bear with me 1 second. What is going on? Where are people from? I'm assuming that since Mr. Cain is going to be on here, he's from Pennsylvania. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of Pennsylvania, Pittsburg people in the room. Appreciate it. Mr. Cain is in the room. I think I sent you, let me check. I thought sent you an invite. I thought I did. Yeah. PA coworker here. So, Ethan, check to see if you have the latest version of Instagram because they told me that you can't join, and sometimes that's the issue. Okay, coworkers. I love the support. Love the support. I have a question. Coworkers, were any of you at the Only Fighters Federation fight? Were you there? Because he had a whole tribe with him that night. And shout out to all supporters. You know, anybody in any facet of anything, especially when you're in the public eye and you have to uh, gain adoration from the public, support is everything. Mm, yeah, he did an amazing job. Amazing, amazing. So, since you're a coworker, are you guys in the medical field? Sure. Yep. Nurse. Cool.
There,
Brother,
there it is.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored.
Same here. Good to hear. Let me get something
I,
set up here.
I've actually been excited to talk to you because I'm curious about your story. It's a lot going on with you, and I want to get down to the nitty gritty. I'm a nosy person. I like to know things.
Awesome. Hey, me too. Me too. So I completely understand. I appreciate it. I'm ready for it. Whatever you got.
All right. So you're well, you're good.
Yeah, 100%. Everything's going great. Just taking one day at a time. But I love what I do. I got a lot of great people around me, and so really never a bad day is my outlook on it. But
I like that. I like that. I love positivity.
thank
So let's go back in time. Let's go back to figure out what little Ethan is doing.
you. Yeah.
Around 10 years old, what's happening in your life?
Man, so if you would have told 10-year-old me I'd be where I'm at today, not only would I not have believed it, but a lot of people wouldn't have. I'll be honest, I still grew up in Pittsburgh. Obviously we didn't have anything crazy. I lived in the McKeesport, Elizabeth area. So some local people will know that, throughout my life. And, yeah, some of my buddies mess around in the chat, bro. But anyway,
Oh, y'all be careful of that because I have a quick block finger. I will kick you out of here. I
yes,
do not like negativity. So I'm glad
no,
you're joking.
yes, yeah. He's joking, but if you want to block him, you can. I give you the permission. But anyway, he's actually one of my patients, so that's probably ironic. But
Okay.
anyway, yeah. So I grew up in the McKeesport, Elizabeth area. Was a pretty normal kid. I played sports my whole life. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. We definitely weren't, like totally broke, but there were nights, we had the crock pot meals, we had everything going on. I got a little brother. It was pretty much me and my mom and my stepdad about the age of 10. And, I played sports my whole life. I started playing football when I was 6. That was really the main sport I played. I tried them all. I tried basketball, soccer, wasn't really good at any of them. I was a short, stubby kid, wasn't very athletic. And then age 10, I was probably, I was always a good student. I got into some trouble here and there, mainly for my attitude and things like that. But my grades, intellectually, I was always pretty smart. So I got good grades, played football, and just kind of lived, average stuff, run around, hang out with my friends. And then I want to say a couple years after that, we take it to like middle school. I kept playing football, and then that's when I started wrestling. Actually, 7th grade, I got
Okay.
cut. I got cut from my middle school basketball team. So this is one of my funniest stories. I had 13 people tried out for the team, and they were taking 10. And I didn't make it. So I was like, okay, this obviously isn't my calling. I couldn't even make top 10 here. I remember just playing football. I didn't really have another sport. And I was like I said, wasn't the worst kid, but wasn't the best either. So my mom was like, we got to get you to play another sport because I can't have you home all the time, just getting into
So let me
trouble.
ask you a question. So
Yeah,
you were trying out all these sports in school. Me being a kid, we also played sports out in the street, in our neighborhoods. Did you do that as well?
I did 100%. I was actually
So
pretty
how
good
did
at
you
some
fare
sports.
in the street? Were you better in the street?
For sure, 100%. There's
Okay.
no
All right.
fouls in the street. There were no fouls in the street. So, I was definitely a bully, in the paint, playing some street basketball. I was the type of guy, I'm going up, getting that rebound. There's no fouls. So when I come down with that ball, it's mine. And then same with the football. I mean, I was pass interference every play because I wasn't that fast, so I just had to hold on to him. So in the streets, I was definitely better. We played all kind of stuff. Hockey, we played some street hockey here and there if we could.
Okay.
I was pretty decent at that too, but just wasn't a big like hand-eye coordination. You know what I mean? But I was big and physical. I was really big. I want to say in 5th grade, I actually had to miss a year of football because I couldn't make the weight limit. I want to say in like 5th grade, I probably weighed like almost 160, 170 pounds. So I was big.
Wow.
I was huge, and it wasn't all good big. I was a little chubby kid, but I was a big kid. I used it to my advantage pretty much my whole football career. So yeah, I definitely fared better in the street for sure.
Good. And so you get to wrestling, and is it a match for you in wrestling?
100%. I remember thinking I was going to hate it. My middle school gym teacher got me to start, and I'm like, I'm going to hate this so much. Like, I looked at it. I saw, like, you had to wear the singlet and the headgear, and I, like, watched videos of it on YouTube. I'm like, I'm not going to like this. I went to one practice, and I'm thinking it's like WWE kind of, too. Like, you got to hold them down for 3 seconds to get a pin and, like, all this
Yeah.
stuff. And it was a rude awakening, my first practice. I was the biggest kid, but I definitely wasn't the best or the most in shape. it was pretty
So let me
brutal.
ask you, were you body conscious as
Oh,
a teenager?
I would say 100% in a way, yes. I think just me
Okay.
being like a man and hanging out with a lot of other guys, I wasn't quite as bad. I just feel like in that
Okay.
population, it wasn't something I really pondered on, but I definitely knew I was a bigger kid for sure. Like I did
Okay.
always want to lose weight, but I just was like, there's a big stigma around like losing weight at that age and going on a diet when you're 12 years old, so it's like, I knew I wanted to work harder, but to me, I was always like, why am I not in good shape? I play a sport, because I thought going to football practice and then going home and eating a bunch of food would keep me in good shape. So I definitely think I was to an extent, but not in the way that it really upset me, more in the sense that I just never understood why I was such a big kid,
Yeah.
in that sense, for sure. So, that was that though. But I will say wrestling, when I started wrestling, it made me more body conscious for sure. Cause I had to put on that
Yeah.
outfit, and there were other big kids too, which did help. I wrestled kids my own size. So I saw other big
Yeah.
kids. But I was by far the biggest kid on my team. I wrestled 210 pounds in seventh grade. So
Wow.
yeah, so I
Wow.
wrestled 210 in seventh grade. I got a lot of forfeits, and the second biggest kid on my team was like 160. So I felt big, that for sure at that time. So,
Hmm.
but
So how deep into it did you start winning? Was it immediately?
so honestly, when I started, I wasn't bad. My first ever match, I did win, but they gave me another kid who had just started. So I beat
Okay.
him, and I was like, okay, cool. And so I was like, maybe I'm gonna stick with it. Then I went to a tournament after that. It was like a dual meet tournament. So we wrestled 5 times in one day. Went 0-5, got crushed every match. So I'm like, okay, maybe that was a fluke. So I wanted to quit, but my mom I raised me with the mentality: once you start something, you got to finish it.
That's
That's
right.
just what you got to do. So I finished the season. By the end of the season, I had a losing record, but I wasn't bad. I think I was like 10 wins and like 15 losses or something like that. So I
Okay.
wasn't bad. I got some wins under my belt, and it kept me. I had enough wins, and I liked it well enough and made enough friends to where I was willing to give it a second year for sure. So I came
Okay.
back in eighth grade.
Now,
Um,
socially in your life, because now you're wrestling, do you see a change in your life socially? You're getting more friends, you're getting noticed. That's happening for you?
Yes, 100%. It definitely was. I remember our wrestling. I went to a small school. I think I graduated with like 130 kids. So it was definitely
Hmm.
on the smaller side. And wrestling, out of 130 kids, the ones who want to wrestle, barely any. I think we had 4 kids in my grade who wrestled, and the team was seventh and eighth graders. So I think we had maybe 10 on the team in total, but only like
Okay.
4 of them in my grade. So the 3 that I wrestled with that were in my grade, we became really good friends. So I
Nice.
actually got like my best friends from that sport, 100%. So,
Nice. Nice.
because it's such a unique kind of niche sport, when you're younger, that
Hmm.
you're with those people all the time. So yeah, they definitely became close friends, and it did change me socially. And I had a lot of friends from football as well. But the wrestling definitely was, I think, my people. I found my people in wrestling, I guess. Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
for sure.
And so you did it all through high school, right?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
And you did so well. You wind up going to Seton Hall and you wrestled there, right?
Correct. Yes. So I wrestled all through high school. Like I said, I started in seventh grade and had a losing record, and then by my freshman year, I started on the varsity team. And by my junior year, I won a section title, and then qualified for states my senior year in PA, which is like the best wrestling state in the country. And I did some travel tournaments, wrestled at some big tournaments, Powerade and stuff like that. So I always thought growing up I was going to play football in college,
Uh-huh.
but I got an offer to wrestle at Division II at Seton Hill. So it wasn't about the money for me, really. It was more educationally. I wanted to
Yeah.
be in that 5-year PA program. That's what I wanted to do since my sophomore year. I did a ton of volunteer hours and all kinds of stuff in high school to get in. And so I got into that program, and wrestled too. And it was kind of nice. I went there mainly for the program, but the fact that they had a wrestling team that was willing to take me on just added to
Yeah.
it. So it was a perfect
Yeah.
storm. So yeah, I ended up wrestling at Seton Hill over here in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
Nice. Nice. And so moving forward and going to school and wrestling at the same time, how was that? How did you manage?
It was very difficult, if I'm being completely honest. In high school, it was easy for me. I didn't really ever study. I was smart enough to where I could go to class, normally finish my homework like in class or in study hall, and then not have to do much. And the tests I could normally
Yeah.
just get by on. And I took my SATs. I did pretty good on those, had a pretty good GPA. So yeah, I never was like, I didn't know how to study when I got to college. My freshman year wasn't bad. My freshman, sophomore year, because I had a lot of gen ed courses and things like that. But then it really started to turn up like my, junior, senior year, especially my master's degree. It really started to kind of turn up the heat, and it got pretty tough to wrestle. There was a point where I look back, and it's tough to say if I regret it or not, but I did step away from the team for a year. Because of academics and just some life stuff going on. But I ended up coming back once I figured out how to study and everything properly. My grades never took a dip, but I could see it coming. I was like,
Yeah.
if I continue going to practice, this next semester coming up is going to be pretty rough with what I got scheduled. So I just did it in advance because I wasn't willing to jeopardize my academics. And so it was very tough, if I'm being honest. And I missed a lot of practices, but my coach was willing to work with me. And I still got to start, and I would come to practice I couldn't. He knew if I wasn't there was a good reason.
Wow.
He trusted
That's
me.
great.
Yeah. And I was super thankful for that. We sat down at the beginning of every season, went through my class schedule, the classes I could make, classes I couldn't make. Practices I couldn't make, the matches I couldn't make. The PA program was really strict, like on absences. Even if it was for a school sport, they did not care. So if I had class or an exam that day, I was missing a match or practice.
Yeah.
So, that made it a little tough, but it is what it is. And so, yeah, it definitely was tough, but we got through it, and I'm very glad that my career went the way it did. So,
Very nice. Seems like it all worked out for you. So
100%.
now you have your degrees and you graduate, and now what? What happens after that?
So yeah, I guess we'll kind of take it back to my last year in school. So in our PA program that I was in, we do rotations, and so every 4 weeks you would go to a different clinical location for a different specialty with a different doctor or PA. And so I was in New Jersey. I was telling you about out in Patterson for women's health at St. Mary's Hospital. I was in Panama City, Florida for the regional hospital down there for pediatrics. I went to Indiana Regional Hospital, all over the place. But I ended up working at a practice for a month with the doctor I work with now called Youngwood Internal Medicine. It was over here. It was local. It was 10 minutes down the road from where I went to college, like 20 minutes from where I grew up. It was random. I didn't pick it. They just sent me there. But I was very glad they did. And, I got to know the doctor there really well. And when I was there, he was like, listen, I don't know what the future holds, but if there's ever a job here, like, I'd love to have you. You're great. And I really liked him too. And as a PA, it's really important that you like your supervising physician, that you have a really good
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah.
So, it literally was fate. They had someone that resigned and went to another practice like 3 months before I was due to graduate, put in my application, and I accepted the job before I even graduated. So, passed my board exam, and I started a few months later.
It's really beautiful how your life was just aligned that way.
I know. I couldn't be more grateful. It's sometimes it seems like, I'm like looking around like, is something going on? Like, but truthfully, I couldn't be more happy with how it's going, for sure.
So
What I took